So we are almost in the beginning of our time. So we'll strictly start with the session. So good evening and welcome once again to this wonderful topic and Friday evening, spending Friday evening for your own skill development and an interesting topic is showing how much the right attitude you have in terms of job prospect, understanding the future, everything. So very good evening and welcome to our virtual roundtable session wherein we will be discussing about the future of jobs report which is released by World Economic Forum during January 2025. But till now the level of awareness is very less. So we thought like being in this industry we'll try to decode many of the information so that it gives some hopeful conditions because most of the blogs or most of the videos talks about layoffs and job cuts and multiple things, but still there are a lot of hope. That is what the World Economic Forum report obviously predicts with a lot of surveys. And here we'll talk about the trends, skill sets required, strategies required, those kind of things. So today I'm hosting this particular session. My name is GS Kumar from the city of Bangalore, and I'm into LinkedIn training and job hunt coaching for senior job seekers. I'll be handling the entire session today for discussing with all the panel members. Joining with me, the expert panel members, Mr. Sunil Satyendra, Chief Conversations Officer and Leadership Coach. Happy to welcome you, Sunil. And we have Abhishek Nag, Senior Director, People New Globe Education. Happy to welcome Abhishek. And we also have Mr. Edwin E. Joel, People Experience Anubhavam. Thank you so much, Edwin, for joining this session. And hopefully, we will get a lot of brainstorming ideas coming with your own personal experiences and um, predictability aspects for the future. So, would love to start this conversation with ideas on what exactly this report says. Like there are some key pointers which they started talking. So first of all, there will be a significant job challenges or changes, I would say, by 2030. And the positive note is it will create about 78 million new jobs. Okay, so then when we say survey report, it is not towards the negativity aspect. The positive aspect is 78 million new jobs will be created. And it is more towards skills like AI and big data and creative thinking. These are the elements which will be crucial for everybody to upskill, be it IT or non-IT, whatever domains you are into. It is more towards upskilling on the AI, big data, and analytics. Those kind of things is what crucial to upskill. And the negative aspect is any clerical role, coordinator role, or cashiers, bank tellers, those kind of things might vanish, is what they are trying to convey with this survey. And more and more towards tech roles, migrating towards AI, data analytics. Like somebody said, Mr. Harish said that testing role is getting vanished. So maybe those people have to migrate to a new technology, AI roles or data analytics roles, which is growing in the next 5 years. So this is been conducted with World Economic Forum with over 1,000 employers. Okay, it is not one or two or three. It is with 1,000 employers worldwide. They have created this survey and it represents about 14 million workers across 22 industries and 55 economies. That's the report which they have provided with a long time of effort of getting information from various decision makers and people who are in the job, all that. It is not just with 100 sample size or something where we cannot rely on that. It is purely the number of people are very higher. Now, with this note, we will start this brainstorming session where we'll try to segment this into three different categories mainly. So one will be the current job market trends and projection. Second will be the technology's role in shaping jobs. And third will be skills for the future. What skills needs to be learned? So instead of talking on the declining jobs more towards that, maybe we'll discuss at the end of the session. But hopefully, whatever is the aspect of futuristic point of views and positive impact, those things we will try to speak towards it. Um, so current job market trends and projections. Mr. Edwin, can you highlight certain pointers on what this World Economic Forum really brings some light on the current job market? Could you share some insights?
Firstly, thanks GS for this opportunity for bringing this panel into. And see, when we look at the report, it's very comprehensive in looking at different verticals of industries across. So I'll give you my personal example wherein I had pivoted my career from an engineer to a HR space. So the
Mhm,
transition has not been linear. I had shifted from engineer to administration and then into HR operations and into the HR space. So that has been my personal journey across. So when we look at the report, we are looking at a lot of transformation which is going to happen. I can take it across like in few pointers, like we need to look at what would be the skill latency, what would
mhm,
be the change on the business landscape. With COVID in 2019, we had looked at the digital transformation, which we were looking at it at a higher realm. It didn't happen. COVID had transformed the business towards a digital way of operations. Now we have a lot of organizations who are people centric and digitally first, so they don't have a brick and mortar kind of business entity available. So that's the digital transformation we are looking at. So with that in space, we are also looking at challenges which will bring in with the advancement of technology. So
mhm,
I'll give you my personal example. If I had in my life, I'll take my personal examples. So I had my father who had worked with a government agency. So he had, if he had known one skill, he could survive. And he has now retired also, and he's having a peaceful life. So now when we look at us, we have changed and we have upskilled ourselves in different variations. Now that
mhm,
skill gap has also led to skill latency, where if I know 5 or 6 skills, I could survive. Now that skill gap has also reduced, and the skill latency has also reduced, so that each individual who are on that working on the technology front has to keep on upskilling themselves at a very higher rate. Because once a technology, it may be bloom, like you had like somebody who could know .NET or Java earlier can survive. Now we are looking at people who can do both the front end and the back end development. So we are looking at full stack developers at this juncture.
true.
Same way with the digital transformation, we are looking at business change. We are looking at smart manufacturing. We are looking at IT transformation. So few concerns which being brought over there is looking at ethical practices, responsible business practices, and what would be the dimension of skill. So with AI also in place, we are looking at all the menial jobs or the administrative jobs will be transformed into a next level of transformation. See, it's not AI who is going to replace you. It's the person who is going to use AI is going to replace us. Another citation I can give is, we come from a generation where we used pagers, then mobile phones, and then we had gone to an Android and iOS system. So that has been our transformation. So now that same transformation is happening across with the job roles also. So we had challenge with people adapting to this change. So that change is a big mess currently, because people don't know what to learn and where to go. So
Correct.
I'll say they can look at what's their aspiration. A self awareness has to be done, a self evaluation to look at what is their skill set, and they also need to look at what would be the future skills
Mhm,
which is required. That's being wonderfully being put in our Nokri report and World Economic Forum, and there are other major big four organizations who are given a lot of citations. So you're looking at like common sense, which is very critical because people are not looking at it as a skill, but we are looking at like empathy, ethical
Mm,
leadership. Then competitive advantage will also come in with regard to skilling ability, and we are
mm,
looking at everyone to be an influencer. So
mm, mm.
digital marketing is going to be blooming at it, and how do we use it? So I leave the community to look at like what would be the business transformation, what is the skill they are looking at. If they can automate it, they're going to get replaced. So if you're going to be replaced with a skill, go for an upskillment activity.
Oh, okay. So digital transformation is, I mean, it's kickstarted, but it'll be evolving in next 5 years in a very larger scale.
I'll give you examples where we are looking at IoT devices at our own places. We have
Mm,
Alexa switching on our ACs or our refrigerators at home. So that's a
mm,
practical implication of how transformation is having at home. So
True.
technology is an enabler, and how do we use it depends on our utility.
Fantastic. So, a couple of key aspects I've seen in this report is like one is obviously, as you said, technological boom, where I mean AI, big data, robotics is what 86% of employers say this will transform their business by 2030. So that was one of the report, like how WhatsApp has replaced SMS. In the Esther last 5 years, 10 years. So like I think there will be a transformation shift in whatever the technology usage we have. There might be a shift in one technology to another technology. That's what they are predicting. Second, they talk about green transition, where they talk about climate change mitigation that is pushing demand for renewable energy roles. And there are a lot of solar power sectors which is popping up, and they say this is very a positive impact, which will have evolution in next 5 years. And we are seeing last 1 month about Bush, I mean, sorry, Donald Trump's breaking news every single day. So obviously there are a lot of economic ups and downs, inflation, slower growth, all this bound to hit back to back for the job market, especially Indian job market, where the IT, ITES, BPO are all um, highly dependent on upon the US market. So that's have a very huge impact we could foresee. And as you rightly said, digital access, which about 60% of employees say they will broaden their digital access. So like how I mean Geo and Airtel have evolved over a period of time. So this is bound to happen. And demographic shifts is what they are talking about, where a lot of workforces will come into picture. So these five key points is what they are trying to convey. Any other panel members have some opinion on this particular topic? You can throw some light on this.
I think very interestingly, Inwin also mentioned like how jobs have changed. What my dad's generation used to do, I may not be able to do. And I think there's also a nuance on the aspect of even generationally, what is the aspects that will change. And I think we are also in a very constant flux. For a want of a better metaphor, it is like how do we predict Bangalore traffic, right? So we don't know how we can predict it. So that's the chaotic space there is. But we work with what we have. That is always the case, and we are trying to see what keeps us going. I think more so as an Indian economy, I think India's spaces are India's problems are India's problems, and India's solutions are also India's solutions. So it offers a mix of hope as much as it looks daunting. You know, there's climate change, there is upskilling, there is three or four generations in the same organization, hierarchically, generationally. When you look at it from that point of view, it looks like it's a mess. But sometimes that very mess is what Indians thrive at. That the more complicated it is, sometimes we find things that are not conventional for anybody else, but run of the mill for us. So it is a space where I think the hope is not to be lost on saying, "Am I losing my job?"
Correct.
So if I'm ready to transform and transform the entire journey and transmutate the entire space, both personally and professionally, I think there is a lot of scope for us to say, okay, we can survive as an entire generation, species, and more.
So in the couple of discussion domain enlargement we have seen, do you see any sector is very having a positive hope for new jobs generations, all that? Any thought process on that?
Abhi, you want to take it up, and then maybe I will also add my 2 bits to it.
I I would kind of take up on the point that Sunil mentioned about we as a nation surviving crisis. And if you look at, and I'll probably all of the people in this, whoever are listening to this, have passed through the phase of COVID, right? Which is a recent one that we all did. And there was a point when it seemed utopian, it seemed very, very uh, uh, cathars- catalytic, where the end of the world kind of situations were predicted. And we had no clue. The entire world was grappling with what the, the future lies ahead. We passed that while we lost lives, which is, but we passed that. The people who survived are still doing living their lives and have moved ahead, have realized certain things of what they like, what they don't like. So essentially, every crisis, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So it will evolve, and as you swim through the tides, you need to kind of keep evolving yourself to be able to be on the other side. And as a nation, largely we have survived, be it the 2001 crisis or 2008 subprime crisis or things. We have evolved and we will continue to evolve. The question remains to be seen is, are we taking actions on our independent days and independent levels to be able to swim along that tide? Are we taking actions on a daily basis so that we can continue to be on the positive side of that tide, or are we being carried away by the tide and lagging behind or grappling with it? So that's the difference. Either you can uh, uh, go with the flow or just low, or you can be taking advantage of it. If you want to take advantage of it, it requires action, it requires changing habits, it requires changing efforts, and that's what is important in my opinion. So every business in some way, and I'll talk about it in more detail about how things have evolved and how technology is changing things, but everything gets impacted over a period of time, and that's true. Nothing is constant over a period of time. And question is, if we as individuals remain constant, then we are probably on the wrong side of things.
True, true, true. On the positive note, we will move on to the next segment of the discussion, which is technology's role in shaping jobs. Technology means, like, during our 90s, internet became a new technology where a lot of people have migrated to a new forms, and a lot of middle class people, the biggest job for them is a banking job. Okay, so after IT's introduction, anybody who's in the middle class, they started learning computer science. Every single home, one or the other guys was BSc computer science, MCA, MSc, BCA, multiple other things, and they got very beautiful, high-paying jobs, which was not happening till 1990s or till 1995, if I remember. So technology is shifting a larger way in terms of elevating ourselves, especially. And now it is the AI and data analytics, UI, UX, those kind of things, which is shifting largely towards scaling up ourselves and scaling our personal career also. So on that note, Abhishek, so I'll come to you on, can you show some lights or some insights towards technological roles in shaping this new wave of jobs?
Yeah. Uh, I'll I'll quickly a quick introduction. My name is Abhishek, as you JS have already mentioned. I head the global HR for a education services company, uh, largely present in Africa, US, Europe, and in India. Workforce of almost 7,000 employees globally, and I've been in HR space for around more than a decade, and prior to that, in technology for around a decade. So overall, close to 20 years now. So looking at to the point of the topic here on technology's impact on jobs, and before I get into the specifics and talk about it, I will go back to the statistics that James mentioned earlier. The net of 78 million jobs being created. Now, if you look at the while this is being created, there's the it's a net. So technically 130 million jobs are being will go away as per the World Economic Forum report. And then there are 170 million jobs will be created and 92 million jobs will be going away. That's the delta of 78 million which will be added. Now, where is this new 170 being created? And the reality of it is 85% of that 175 million does not exist today, which is a fun fact. A majority of those jobs which will be created, which are predicted to be created, does not exist today. So which means there is a plethora of jobs that are lying to be created in future. And that's the prediction. And that's been always so which means we have a huge opportunity lying ahead of us to be prepared for a world that can have jobs which are probably good jobs for everyone across. But it will also create certain factors or require certain elements of adaptability and agility for people. We'll have some part of the discussion probably focusing on that. But look at, I'll give you some interesting things to look at. There's a study done by MIT Future of Work, Professor David Potter. He did a study on origins and content of new work. And this is a study which was done for the period from 1920 onwards. They actually did the study 35,000 jobs, and they look at the patents that were filed in US for all patents filed from 1920 onwards, and 35,000 job categories, and did a natural language processing on that data, and they came out with the impact. So when you file a patent, you need to kind of submit abstract and text, and they analyze those texts and came up with the conclusion that there is always a technology augmentation on jobs. While there is an adoption and it leads to a complete shift of jobs, there is always a subliminal augmentation of technology that increases the variety of things that people can do, the quality of things people can do, and their productivity. Three things, right? So a summary of that, or a outcome of that is, if you look at over a period of time, technology has changed in general how a service is delivered or a product is consumed, how is it developed, delivered by companies, consumed by consumers, what's the speed of it, right? What's the speed on how it's consumed? And third thing is how the transaction of that happens, how the monetary transaction of that happens. These are three bucket areas, if you look at broadly, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education, whether it's travel, whether it's any kind of services or products that are consumed, how it is being delivered or consumed, what's the speed of it, and how it is transacted for. These broad areas, everything today is impacted by technology. And that's where the technology has impacted the nature of jobs. The function remains same. There's a consumer who is consuming, there's a company who is delivering a product or a service, and there is some financial transaction happening. That remains as a core, but the way it is delivered changes. And that's where technology plays a big role of how it is delivered. A simple example, and I'll take multiple sectors and examples of this. Look at common one, very day-to-day food. There was a time, and some of you would remember probably before the Zomatos of the world and Swiggies of the world, going out, eating in a restaurant, you would probably once in a while go out and eat in a restaurant, sit down with your family, and that's an occasion itself. Now, look at the shift that technology has brought it. It's that is where technology has completely changed the way the service is delivered, the way the service is consumed, the speed of it, and the transaction, all three of them. And that led to the creation of jobs, a humongous amount of jobs that has been created, whether in the delivery side, whether in the, and it is not just the technical jobs, it has created jobs at the lowest end of the spectrum, which is delivery service providers, also at the highest end of the spectrum, which is AI data engineers. And that results into, if you look at it, it's an inverted bell curve always, generally. So the jobs that somehow get to be redundant are the jobs which are at the middle of the spectrum, which is where people have become stagnated. So the only bottom line that remains is there are some jobs which are just playing a middleman role, that when you bring in efficiencies in the system, that middleman role gets obsolete. So essentially it gets more wider on a spectrum where either the low skill jobs becomes valuable or the very high skill jobs becomes valuable. Now, to be playing higher side of the curve, you would want to be on the high skill jobs, which means the only outcome is upskilling and reskilling, right? Now take an example of healthcare. In healthcare services, again, today we can have the convenience of getting a medicines delivered at our fingertips. We have healthcare services, tests being done at our convenience at home, or even monitoring of medical services being done at home. All these have led to conveniences, which has resulted in the way teleconsultation, video consultation, all of this, right? Again, enabling that has created a lot of technology jobs. So essentially, every company, even in health, I worked in a healthcare organization, and every organization today, irrespective of whatever business that they're in, whether it's a real estate company or a healthcare company, they essentially have translated to become a technology company. And every day, there was a time when all of these organizations would have a back-end department of IT at best, right? An IT operations department who would probably be using their systems or laptops doing a repair or things. But today, every organization have a technology department which focuses on technology. So which means technology has actually helped creating a lot more jobs than it is, and it has helped shape jobs. So there is in my opinion, I'm very bullish about it. There is a lot of positive, promising aspect of technology in jobs. It's just that the beauty lies in understanding what technology, what point in time, and being at the cusp of constantly being innovating and evolving. So on the technology lines, look, people who are or maybe understand technology a bit, look at the shift of languages in the technology foray, right? A simple example, JavaScript has evolved over the years. Constant new JavaScripts have evolved. Or maybe some languages have become more prominent. There were people who used to do coding in JW Basic, COBOL, etc. at some point in time. Today, they're obsolete technologies. Python has gained prominence. So essentially, and even today with Gen AI coming in, the entire parlance have changed, where your ability to adapt has become more important than your ability to know. Fundamentals of knowledge is on technology is important, but knowing a certain syntax or a semantics of a programming has become lesser and lesser relevant, but your general ability to consume information and process it has been, or analytical abilities has become more important. So technology has always, again, another example from education. So largely there was books, people go to school, get information consumed at certain points, whereas now technology is you can asynchronously consume, get information. Today there are plethora of internet resources available for people to be aware. There's a lot of and I'm sure a lot of you would have checked the new, there's a job post by someone recently where they were not even considering degrees or so, and openly advertised for a very interesting job post. I'm forgetting the name of the organization, but there's an organization which has openly advertised for a very high paying job without a degree, just basic requirement of a class 12 pass out with a certain age criteria, so that they're above the requirement age, and as long as they can program and code and do things, self-taught programmers getting great jobs. So essentially what remains is skill set is going to be the key aspect or the key currency for transactions. So skill sets are going to be the factor. And on that world, generalists are going to have a challenge. What is going to be important is how specialized are you in your respective jobs, and that's where a lot of coaches, lot of people who are able to guide people on these areas will, as those professions will evolve, because people will require support. Mental health as a piece will evolve, where people will require support, because there's going to be a lot of information availability, but uh, I mean, plenty of choices, difficult to pick up the right choice, make the right, uh, uh, pick up the right direction to be able to move forward. And that's if betting the right odds will make the difference. So essentially, uh, and to bet the right odds, it is all, there is always an information asymmetry, because whatever you consume today, and that kind of points back to a very old age quote, that you become the average of 5 people that you constantly interact with, right? So essentially, what is, and fortunately or unfortunately today, every feed that you read or every feed that you consume are engineered by PhD scientists and people like that. So essentially, what is your LinkedIn feed, what is your Insta feed, what is your other social media feeds, are engineered by people sitting at different places. So essentially, what you consume is what you become. And it's very important to consume the right set of information, pick up the right set of sources to consume information, which leads to the outcome that you want to, which technology to be the that you want to bet on, which skills that you want to acquire for future and get. So there is a positive silver lining, in my opinion. Yes, picking the right bets is what is going to be important.
Fantastic. I mean, beautifully put forth. I have taken a golden statement: what you consume is what you become. So I'm just thinking what all I'm consumed today in YouTube and LinkedIn and other things. So I think in the recent past, we have seen a lot of collaboration of sectors like edtech, fintech, health
Yes,
tech, and there are new
everything
products
is tech.
which is evolving. Correct. So I think in next 5 years, there are a lot of collaboration between two different sectors might happen, and then they can come up with a new uh, industry as well. Like edtech is not something we have heard in last decade or something.
Yeah, I mean, a very good, very poignant example there. How many people 10 years, not even 10 years, maybe 7 8 years back, had thought that Google as a brand, which was known as an internet behemoth, would be entering a domain of finance? Google's one of the
Hmm.
largest revenue source today is Google. It would have, in their right minds, thought that Google would enter as an organization into the fintech space. So very different collateral. A Zomato getting into a district is a very different example. A Ola getting into a EV space is a very diverse sectors people are getting into, and non-related even, but collaboration is happening.
This is giving a thought process like how huge big industries are pivoting their
Absolutely.
sector, which is no way connected to their vertical. Okay,
Yeah.
and we are as a career aspirant, we are thinking 10 times how do I shift my, how do I pivot my role, because 10 years I was in this role. How do I shift to a new role? We think 10 times, and we go for multiple areas to pull out information, and we keep on thinking. But these large sectors, I think they'll do some market research or something before even they get into. So otherwise, whatever future scope is there, they might get into that, which is a very beautiful sign, because the brand is already created. Now, this something which is a new vertical which they have to just open up and reach out to the market. So that's how it is. And I've seen a very interesting segment in this World Economic Report, that there are 15 top largest growing jobs they have listed. The very surprising factor, the number one job which is growing is farm workers, okay, and laborers and other agriculture workers, okay, which we haven't even thought about, because I think it's going to be a lot of boom in especially Punjab, Tamil Nadu, and those kind of areas. There will be a lot of requirement in terms of those guys. I mean, in the total 15, this is standing number one. Okay. Followed by light truck or delivery service drivers, followed by software, obviously software and application developers, um, building framers, finishers, and related trader workers, shop salespersons, food processing and related traded workers, drivers, of course, nursing professionals, food and beverage, and general and operations managers, social work and counseling professionals, that is in there in the list, project managers, university and higher education teachers, secondary education teachers, and finally personal care aides. This is the total 15 list, top largest list of jobs which they have listed, which is evolving in the next 5 years. So any thoughts about that, or any surprising factor which you have came across, that something new which I'm hearing for the first time? Any thought process? Anybody can answer.
I think I prepared for it, so I'll wait for somebody else to
Yeah, yeah,
respond.
yeah.
I'll just put across a thought on this, and this is very interesting and this is very relevant also in some sense. And this is, I would not name the organization, but give you the context. This is a very large, fairly large services organization which provides blue collar services like, I mean, it's basically housekeeping, security kind of services, right? Now, think of it. There is a huge demand in that segment for people who actually are the janitors. Okay, there's a huge demand for them, but the organization had, like, over a period of that built in, and over a period of time, there's a lot of middle layer who was built in, who are basically supervisors, and they have outgrown. They've not, like, just as somebody who was just basic education and skills, and manage these janitors and supervisors. Now, while this organization is going on restructuring and stuff, there is the janitor roles are in demand and are being expanded, while the middle management roles are being made obsolete. Now, think of it as a very example to the point that you mentioned earlier about the roles, that the jobs that are getting off. As I said, it's an inverted bell curve where the middle layer is where it's getting hit, while the both ends of the spectrum of an economic spectrum, the lower end of the jobs and the higher end of the jobs, both are expanding. So that's the reality of the picture. So, which means, on one side, very strong physical hard skills. A chef is still in demand. A good attendant is in demand. The skills which are very, very hard coded, a nursing professional, or a paramedic technician in a healthcare sector, or even a teacher who can teach really well, are in demand. But on the other side, again, there are high coded cybersecurity professionals, strong data engineers, they're also in demand. The middle layer, where it is getting depleted, because those are the jobs that are getting automated or re-engineered or repurposed or lack obsolescence. That's how I put it.
Beautiful, wonderfully thought it.
Absolutely.
We will talk about the technailing jobs in the last part of it, but before that, would like to know more about skills of the future. Now that we know what is the job market and what are all top largest growing jobs and all that, but what is the skill which we will, everybody, I mean, be it a career professional or a business owner, what are the skills which we need to update so that we don't become irrelevant in next 5 years? Mr. Sunil, do you have any thoughts and insights about this? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then possibly, I would even start with what are those jobs not necessarily changing, but what jobs are constant. Because our focus always has been saying what jobs are changing, but not necessarily what jobs are constant. Right. So you will have the entire marriage sector still absolutely being there. You still have possibly the astrologer sector still absolutely being there. You will always need people to help you move houses, move places. Even if technology or right now AI, ML, everything data comes into place, you would need you to physically move places. So you would also have needs as an individual. You would need food, you would need transport, you would need recreation, you would need everything else. So the people side of it is always going to be a space to work out for. And essentially, what possibly of that those 15 emerging spaces may not have covered is that space of giving people a human experience. Because now there is so much technology, so much technology, so much technology, that
Hmm.
if I have to really meet you in person, that itself is a huge change.
Hmm.
So I'll give you just a brief introduction from my end. So I come born in Tumkur, basically moved to Bangalore, 90s kid, me, my cricket, and that's about it, right? Until then, I came into the education sector, was a topper in multiple areas. I got to my engineering and I realized that I don't think I have a practical use case of all that I've learned in multiple use cases. I became a poet, uh, then essentially got through engineering, got into a sector where what I had studied and what I was doing was like absolutely nowhere related. Then actually went through the storm of actually being in the whole space of developing software, and I felt developing software was actually the easiest thing to do. But the whole aspect as to why we developed that software, why only that way and why not every other way, was the basic space where our skill set were really huge. Our decision making, our ethics, and all those things is what I learned there. 8 years into the technical domain, I said I'm done with this because I don't have to belong here because I am not seeing growth. I am not seeing happiness in this space, and a core area being happiness. Right? It is not according to my ikigai. And
Hmm.
2022, I pivoted to become a coach.
Hmm.
And there are hundreds of coaches now. And how do I become a good coach? Again, right? So there'll be hundreds of AI models. How do we become the best AI model? Across the space, across centuries, those with the proper skill sets have always made it through. And I
Hmm.
think Abhishek also mentioned the whole aspect of niching or hyper focus areas where we said, oh, I am good at that. And
Hmm.
somewhere it also moves beyond conventional roles that I am a manager, I have to manage people, I am a software developer, I have to develop software. What are human skills at play that so-called at that those point of time soft skills that used to come only handy when you are actually going to an interview now are there in every aspect of life because your challenges that you are mitigating are completely crazy. And I think
Hmm.
that way to challenge, that way to process that challenge in terms of even mental health, in terms of physical health, in terms of emotional health, and even in terms of job health, right? So maybe I'm terming a new terminology in terms of job health, but how happy I am at my job. I could be skilled at it, but if I'm not happy at it, there is no use. What am I working for? And very clearly, if technology takes over and Maslow's pyramid is basically taken over and said, oh, I have my needs, technology is taking care of my multiple needs, I still crave for a human connection. Even if I'm training an AI for keeping me company, I would somewhere always need, say, a good coffee or a tea or possibly something else also with my friend that says, I need that human connection and they'll never go away. You
Hmm.
will always need that. And at some point, predictably in the near future, I think we'll get to a space where social media's burnout will happen because it is a too fast a space. It will have to hit a break somewhere. There possibly retreats, people who do retreats, people who actually sit and talk to you. And when I pivoted to be a coach, my granny was like, "What kind of a job is this? You're sitting asking people questions and people are paying you for it." I never thought I'd get into a space like that. But if I do an assessment of what my job or what I would be good at, definitely on that space, after a few assessments in terms of genetics, in terms of what I'm good at, reveals that I am fascinatingly good at working with people.
Hmm.
And that is something that will continue to evolve as a space and
Hmm.
also come across sectors that have never come, say, a coach, a mental health professional, a mentor. So for me to be that, I need to be good at what I am. So training as a space for them will always be there. There'll always be a space for mentors. And the supply and demand space, the demand is crazy because a lot of us are burnt out. Technology is taking over. There's a lot of places where there is fear. There is so much of information that I don't know what information to look at.
Hmm.
I very recently had a ligament tear, right? And I was, how I had it, I basically picked something up from my near my shoes and basically was putting it up. I had a kneecap. How Jasprit Bumrah's hand goes like this, my leg actually went inside and came back. I actually had to look at a doctor. So AI cannot be replaced by a doctor. What possibly can be replaced is, say, how the doctor sees a report. The report generation can happen through AI, can happen through ML. I may have a virtual consultation with somebody else. A generalist may be at space. But what is going to be always there is we will always need people like a nurse. We need a physiotherapist. We will possibly need somebody to carry a person from one place to another. And our needs are ever evolving, right? And I got to know of those needs as an engineer, even as I say somebody who is looking at life. I never thought that there would be a specialization to say in an auto we carry pets. I was blown away by that because I never thought about it. That's a skill of the future. That's a role, that's a job of the future, because as much as your role play or aspect is changing, the money aspect that's coming into play is also changing. And even as I talk about money, right? So all of us are now talking about jobs, assuming that jobs give us money, and money is what helps us run the show. And now with Bitcoin, other aspects coming into play, no longer a level playing field, no longer conventional playing field. With climate change and wars impending, and you don't know who becomes the president and what role they change, and who press the red button and what nuclear wars get triggered. We don't know. I think our job is like what Sunita Williams' job is. We go for 9 days, but we don't 38 days, we may come back. But in those 238 days, what will keep us going is our internal skills. So as skills, as individuals, that has been constant or evolving across millions of years as a species. Our intelligence, our space, there will always be a space for natural stupidity as much as there is a space for natural intelligence and artificial intelligence, right? So you would want to be goofy with your friends, you would want to be goofy with your family. That whole personal thing will also take its space. And also, why am I working is the biggest question that needs to be answered. And I think that's where jobs as a definition as to why I am doing a job will also change. If I know of so many of my friends who quit post COVID to say, I don't want to do a software job. I want to work with my own farmland, right? And with increasing population, there's always going to be an increase in demand of what we're eating and whole the nutrition aspect. I don't think the diabetes reversal guys, the nutrition guys were in so heavy demand 2 or 3 years back. So we don't know what is coming in the future. But essentially, to a large extent, the learnability to learn a skill that will help us survive. And that confidence to say we'll learn anything because we've learned everything. In India, the amount of textbooks that you read, the amount of information that you consume, you are technically a walking, talking AI or an NI, like natural intelligence, right? So it'll always continue to exist and always continue to work. But what will possibly be a space with heavy intensity would be individualization of a service. And that's where data will come in. That's where, models will come in. That's where technology will come in. And I think that entire need-based aspect of what Abhi said, that there are so many jobs that we don't even know the job. And it'll happen. And there are fantastic paying jobs for people to walk dog, like for feed dogs, to, sort of become a veterinarian. So there are hundreds of things that I think are lying untapped. And I think also what we have not touched in the discussion so far is possibly rural India's role in this, because we've only talked about cities, we've only talked about access to information, access to AI. Right? If I go to a place where possibly if I go to Dharwad, I may not find Ola. It is
Correct.
still run on a unconventional prior system. So we will have to navigate an older system and a newer system and an evolving system. So all of these, I think what I'd like to say in conclusion is we have all the skill sets ready to learn a new skill, unlearn a new skill, and always be who we are. And I think what will definitely change is our affinity towards calling ourselves, I am this developer, I am that developer, I am this, I am that. So we will get to have a space where we are multiple skill sets working on what we find has meaning. Because without meaning, we are robots. There is no delta between me and the robot. And those human spaces, I think, will take over I think as quickly as 2025 itself, we've already seen a huge wave upfront, and that will continue to be, and will continue to be a factor across spaces. I don't know if I deviated from my original space, but I think this is a space I wanted to put a thought saying these are also aspects. What remains constant, even in 5 years, even beyond COVID, even prior to COVID, is that people space is always going to be there.
True, true, true. No, I think that's the beautiful a new point, a new dimension which you have opened up. I mean, especially the people-oriented activities, socializing activities, where in the very recent last 5 years, we have seen a lot of networking happening, especially on the business point of view and even the job professionals, going beyond their limitations and geographies and other things. They want to meet people, they want to socialize, they want to reach out, create an awareness. This is evolving, and people who are creating these platforms are earning huge, and they are become assemblers of people. So whoever is assembling people in a platform, they are appearing big and they'll make a lot of money. So that's one end. The other end, what we are seeing is in the startup ecosystem, they create a lot of solopreneurs. Okay, so when we attend a lot of startup meetings, they say, okay, I've created this technology and I just network through LinkedIn, I get some business. That's all. There is no talk, there is no client call itself. Okay, so that way, it is more and more limitations to the people socializing where we don't even know what is happening. And after the technology is being released, he might vanish also. We may not know whether he will exist or not. So that's one thing where people think that I'm reducing the time, cost, and effort by introducing a new technology and all that, but that eventually creates a lot of gap in socializing with people, meeting people, which eventually gives a bad results in the entire process and ecosystem. And beautifully put, like unlearning, like a lot of people who cross 10 years, 15 years, they have little lag in terms of upskilling. But as interviewers, what I have seen is they look at the resume that whether you are a continuous learner. Okay, in 2021, what you have learned, 22, 23, 24. Because Udemy, Coursera, multiple other things start with at 499. Then what is that? It is stopping you to learn. It is all your own um, passion towards learning new skills. So this is not something to be educated, like our company has some learning system, so you come and upskill. That's not the story right now or in 2025 to 2030. So we will be looking at resumes where they have the attitude of learning. That is one segment, like how we put certificate, extracurricular curricular activities. What is my continuous learning? Continuous learning in the sense not only getting certificate. Are you networking with people? Are you attending conferences, meetings? What is your outside network beyond jobs? Because in LinkedIn, every single day we are saying, I got laid off, can you help me? All that. So these are the people who are not at all active in LinkedIn for last 5 years because they were busy Monday to Saturday doing their job and not at all networked anything outside. Okay, so suddenly if you come and ask me, can you help me? How do you expect people to help? Okay, so one of the major activity being career professional and business professionals, we have to keep networking, meeting new people, which will create a lot of opportunity. So that's one mindset shift has to happen. Of course, business owners, obviously they are doing, but career professionals, there is a lag and they don't know where to start networking, where to go and all that. So that is something which everybody has to go. There is beautiful platforms like meetups where people communities, different communities. There is a Java community, .NET community, multiple other things where weekend meeting happens. Okay, so that way, Saturday, Sundays, maybe once in a while you watch movies, other fine, that is all fine. At least 1 or 2 times in a month, attend these kind of meetings so that you understand what is the available opportunities, recent trends, or sometimes you'll get some gig projects as well. Okay, wherein you don't have to depend on the full-time jobs. So weekends you do some small gig working things wherein it can become a second career when you lose a job. So that way, this even when you are no risk at a job, I would say go and network with people, have a target of meeting 25 people every single month, so that over a period of time you build your network, and that will help you in your second career. So that's uh, the point of view. And this World Economic Forum report has also given a toolkit for skills. So it's a combination of both technological skills and, as you rightly said, the soft skills aspect, behavioral aspects as well. So first and foremost, AI and big data. Second is networks and cybersecurity, technological literacy, and creative thinking. That's one of the elements they have mentioned. Okay. Resilience, flexibility, agility. Resilience, flexibility, agility. That's one of the skill which they are mentioning. Surprising factor is curiosity and lifelong learning. That's one of the skill which they are listed out. Okay. Leadership and social influence, talent management, analytical thinking, environmental stewardship, programming, cloud computing, customer service, collaboration, and design thinking. So if you look at it, 50-50%, one is the people-oriented soft skills, as you rightly said, and the other part is the evolving technologies, which we have to upskill in any of the domains which we belong to. So any thought process on this 50-50% angle, like, creative thinking, flexibility, curiosity, or even they have mentioned collaboration, design thinking, these almost 50-60% is halfway is social people skills and soft skills. Any thought process, anybody can answer.
Prior to that, maybe I think one point I missed out, possibly is it will be an inversion in terms of people coming to cities now going back to their roots, because they're skilled here. They see that there is a requirement. They have a better work-life balance. They have a better quality of life. I think that aspect is where all of the resilience, soft skills, flexibility comes into play. That instead of running this rat race, like a lot of us are doing, would be doing, why not create my own path that works for me? And I think that space also, if I am skilled here, I have 100 people competing for me, and if I go back to my smaller tier 2 city or a smaller village, I'm the only one who runs the roost there, and therefore I will be the one who will always be in charge. So India can see a surge of people going back to their hometowns and being local heroes, as much
Mm.
as being it is okay to be a big fish in a small pond than to be a small fish in a huge ocean, right? So can have that transition aspect as well, in terms of this space. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for the huge insights, and coming for with a short notice. Now we will open for Q&A from the participants who are there, and anybody we can brainstorm also on these three topics, which was brought from World Economic Forum. Anybody have any questions? You can go one by one. So the panel will answer on whatever insights they have. They will try to answer. Who wants to go first?
Can I go?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I have a question. Like currently, my role is manual testing, so I'm not getting that much opportunities for manual testing now. So I am confused, like what skills I have to update myself, like whether it is cloud or cyber security or AI. So which technology will be for me will be evolving till 2030 at least, or till 2035. At least for the next 10 years or 12 years, I'm saying this technology should be there. So what suggestion will you give for me? Like which technology I need to update to?
Yeah. So I basically, my grounding is into recruitment. So in that context, I'll try to answer. So basically, you understand what is your transferable skills, which is already there. You don't have to start from zero. Okay. Whatever you have already acquired from your current job, software testing, all that, you try to list out what are my transferable skills, which I can utilize for a new future job. Okay. Now, transferable skills means what? Like, let's say a sales guy, okay, who's always talking to people, client call and meeting people and selling this product, all this. So what is his transferable skills? It is the client calling and handling people, sales negotiations, all that. Now, let's say he is moving from sales job to a customer service job. Okay. the transferable skills remains the same. So because he's going to deal the same, like client handling, people skills, patience, listening, negotiation, it's going to be the same. So like that, understand what is your transferable skills. And they have listed which are all evolving, like starting from AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, all those things has been listed. Okay, cloud computing, these are all been listed job, which they say which is largely evolving. Now,
Okay.
think of a job where you can easily shift rather than it's a hard shift for you to migrate. Because if at all it's a hard shift, you'll have to undergo some courses and do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of projects, because I was a coach for a company called Simply Learn, Springboard and all that, where a lot of people
Okay.
migrating from IT jobs to a data analytics job. Okay, so that
Mm-hmm.
was little hard for them because they were not used to that kind of a process mechanism. Now, understand which is easily shiftable and what you enjoy doing, okay,
Mm-hmm.
with your
Okay.
transferable skills. And accordingly, maybe little mini projects you have to do, maybe little hackathons you have to do, so that you
Mm.
have hands-on. So people will not recruit guys with certificates, only with certificates. They want your hands-on experience. Okay. So for
Okay.
that to prove, you'll have to evolve with mini projects so that at least you can speak about it. Okay, in the interview. Because in the interview, if you have to speak, you could have done something when implementation you could have done. Then only you can confidently speak. Okay. So
Okay.
that migration you have to do. So any which way, I'll be sharing the entire list of World Economic Forum skill sets and other things. So obviously you can look into it and contemplate on what best suits you without disturbing your job. And weekends, obviously you'll have to join some courses if at all you have decided anything will work for you. So that next 3 to 6 months you have to be ready, pivotable to a next career.
Okay. One doubt I have. Actually, when I compare my previous experience in testing domain I was, so penetration testing in cybersecurity is closely related to that. But
Hmm.
what is one disadvantage which I'm facing now is this penetration testing and cybersecurity teams are available only in very large companies. So they are not available in startups or mid-scale companies. So now I'm getting confused whether to go for cloud or cybersecurity.
So, can I take that? I used to
Yeah,
lead a
yeah.
cybersecurity organization. Pen testing is good. No, see, in the world of cybersecurity, there are always variety of role requirements. So I'll give you a very easy and a simple framework to think for, and then it will help you decide which one to pick and how. So A, you're doing a current job in a organization which is in manual testing. Now, possibly you have done something around, maybe you work on a proprietary technology or you work on generic technologies, as in generic software testing. Now, to the point that JS mentioned, identifying your transferable skills on a very contextual level at your piece is identifying what within manual testing that you're good at. That's important to identify. Number one, which is the transferable skills that you can identify, and then look at a within your current organization, are there possibilities where you can add up more things in your job role which will help you expand your role or emancipate your role. That's number one. And by virtue of doing that, you will learn certain skills and stuff, and then gradually kind of expand it. Automation testing has always a demand, so you can look at some bit of learning automation within testing, which is one possibility. But chart out, like list down 3 4 career paths that you want to pursue. Look at
Mhm.
which in your planning, which of these role for you to be, identify a job role like that. I want to be this particular, I want to be in this particular role in this time frame. Identify people like that in LinkedIn. Look at their career trajectory. Now, from your
Mhm.
trajectory to that point, how much time frame do you require? So let's say one particular role will require X number of months, maybe 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 20 months. Do a bit of research. The moment you start doing research, the moment you start talking to these people who have been there, done that, what is the actual work of the role? Today, pen testing may look good. Do you really enjoy it? I've recruited I used to lead the HR for a cybersecurity organization, and I recruited a lot of people. what cybersecurity thinks from outside versus what you actually do. A lot of the jobs are monitoring jobs and stuff, and people don't enjoy it. And even though, like, I'm not discouraging you from pen testing, but understand whether that's the role that you really want to do first. And to the point that Sunil was mentioning earlier, is that something that gives you happiness, right? So identify that as doing your own research of like the 3-4 jobs that you have identified. Get few profiles of people who are already there, do the research, do the homework, understand what they do as a job role, what skill set are required, then write down that skill sets. For those skill sets, what skill set do you have today versus what you require, then augment that with some learning courses or some guidance from people, and then steer it towards that. So you can then out of that, you will pick up one career path, you will walk towards that, put a structured effort that, okay, I have a individual development plan for maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, working with a coach, identifying that these are my steps towards that journey, and hold yourself accountable to that. So it's doing all of that that James mentioned earlier about maybe caselets, projects, hackathons, etc. But over a period of time, doing multiple of these things so that you are getting skilled towards that, parallelly also using that time to, like, when you reach out to someone and say, hey, this is something that I want to learn, right? That's the point that he mentioned earlier about networking. So it's not, it creates a human element of connect. Tomorrow when you go to reach out to that person that, hey, I wanted to learn this and I have now learned this skill, now can you help me with a referral or a job, it becomes a lot more familiar, it becomes a lot more easier to get reference. So there's a path to that. Walk towards it, and it will help you be there.
Okay. Just one last question. Like my current CTC is 19 lakhs per annum, but most of them are telling that LinkedIn, I have already connected with some people on LinkedIn. Most of them are telling that you will not get cybersecurity job for 19 lakhs per annum. It will be below that CTC only. So go
So,
for DevOps like that.
so I'll tell you one thing. In I'm not going to comment on specific salaries at this moment on the call, but I'll tell you only one thing. And there's a framework. When you look at learn as a word, right? LEARN, it's called lag earn. So once you today learn something that is going to give you a earning in future, there is a lag. There's a phase lag for it, which means you learn today, you reap the benefits of it and earn tomorrow. What you learn today is going to help you earn tomorrow, not today. So that's a conscious call that you need to make. Do you want to be stagnant at your career and be happy with me, and then at certain point face obsolescence, or you want to take steps, maybe look at what is the monetary need at bare bone and see what needs to be done. Compensation is a very open subject, and I'm not going to talk about it this conversation, but think rationally. That's all I would say. Things change over a period of time, and there's a lag of earning. You learn today, you will earn tomorrow on that for sure.
Oh,
No, adding to Mr. Abhishek's point of views, one more addition is like we assume a lot when we are not networking, right? So that's the reason I said go and meet people outside weekends, where a lot of your community people will come and network, do some meetups and all that, where you might get some startups to work with, okay, or work with the individual guy who's struggling individually on a single project. Okay, now these people you can align, collaborate, and work because your intention is to learn and have a hands-on experience. Now they need somebody who needs without salary or less salary, kind of. Okay, so that aligns the mutual goals. So go and meet with people. A lot of startups, they need this kind of thing, or you create a need by saying, okay, these are all various elements. Can I help your organization setting up things? Okay, they will be more than happy because I have seen a lot of people very kind enough to accommodate people in their organization for implementing something. Okay, just for their helping attitude. So you will have to utilize that particular platforms instead of sitting alone and thinking, assuming something which will give a lot of lack of confidence and assumptions only. Okay, rather the more and more you socialize, you get a lot of opportunities. Okay, wherein you can become a gig worker, you can become, I mean, 6 months you plan that, okay, I'll do all some 10, 15 projects, I'll do mini projects. kind of thing. Okay. So that becomes your hands-on experience where it will give you a lot of confidence. And interview, it is always what impact you can create, not what certifications you've got. Correct. So with the mini project experience only, you can say, okay, I had this challenge, I have solved this way, and I can impact this way. That can happen in the interview only if you have did something. Okay. So the final point of view is meetups is the only way you have the community open in your location. Go and see the community and see whether Saturday, Sundays they are doing. And there are a lot of startup meetings also happening. So go and network with the people and then say, I want to do this. Can you help me? There'll be a lot of people who will be open to help. Okay. That way, at least 6 months, forget about CTC and think only, as Abhishek said, think about learning, upskilling yourself, because this is your next pivotal role which you are planning. So obviously you should have a strong foundation. Okay. Then while attending interviews, you'll get to know what is the level of CTC which they are offering. That is up to you and the employer. Okay. So I think that makes sense. Yeah, Sunil has raised the hand. Yes, Sunil.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much. This is my first call. Thank you very much for the space you are creating here and bringing the teacher or trainer or authorities like Abhishek, Sunilji, and everyone. So I really appreciate the work you are doing here. So my question is very specific. What does an organization or recruiter or a HR manager looks in a candidate in the journey of screening till the final round of offer? Because right now I'm jobless from 3+ months and I have given 10 to 15 rounds. When I was giving the third round, like for me as a learning and development, I'm giving a presentation, training. And after that, they are not selecting me. So I want to know what are their red flags, what they look, and what are their criteria to select and reject a candidate.
Oh, very beautiful question. So since I'm coming from a recruitment background, I would say this is a 3-dimension. Okay. So your first audience of your resume is always the recruiter who doesn't know your domain or industry. Okay. He's like a common man where he may not understand your abbreviations. Okay. If you say SME, okay, you might think it is a subject matter expert. He might understand it is small and medium enterprises. Okay, so avoid using jargons while explaining things, because you're speaking to a recruiter who doesn't even understand where you belong to, which industry you belong to. Your first audience is the recruiter. Okay, now only if he understands the resume, he will pass on to the next dimension, which is hiring manager. Okay, hiring manager knows what is the project and who can contribute in this particular project and what skills are required to contribute and what impact he can make. These are the thought process which will run, because he is the guy who has created the JD and passed it on to the HR. Okay. Now the JD might be half baked. Okay. He could have not translated what he wants to write, but he know what he wants. Okay. So during interview, the hiring manager's point of view is only what impact you have created in the last organization where you have did the same thing. Okay. So when you're attending interviews, talk more about what you have implemented in the past rather than this is my responsibilities in first company, second company, third company. Nobody wants what is your responsibility. It's about what impact you have created. Okay. Now the third dimension is the employer or the MD who is providing the CTC, because he is only paying you, not the recruiter, not the hiring manager. Now he will be looking at the resume in a multiple point of view, whether you will stay for 5 years or what is his career progression, or this particular CTC is really worth to pay him. Because like you, the hiring manager has shortlisted another 4 people. Okay. And your resume is going with 4 other resumes. So obviously he will think like a purchase. I mean, how we are purchasing product. Okay. If I pay 10 lakhs, can I get all these things? Okay. So obviously, see, when we are going for a supermarket with the plan of purchasing a paste for 100 rupees, and suddenly we see
always think about ROI. Got your
ROI and what value addition you can bring it to the table comparing to the other candidates. Okay. Now, the either we can call it as a positive or negative. In this three dimension, your resume is floating into three different laptops where your presence is not at all there to convince or explain. Okay. So whatever message you are conveying, it should be self-explanatory and not demanding for explanation. That's a major thing in a content in the resume. Okay. So somewhere that might be lagging where this three-dimensional viewpoint can be completely different from each one. Okay. We might be thinking, okay, HR is shortlisting and hiring. No, three different mutually exclusive point of views is what been put forth, and the major drawback is you're not at all there to explain anything. So that might be one of the drawback which I can see, but which we have seen for a lot of clients. Okay, wherein
Yeah.
they're not able to translate what they want to communicate, and they think that okay, any which way hiring managers is seeing, so I will be putting a lot of jargons, Eclipse, Java, DevOps, multiple other things, project explanation, where a common recruiter like me may not even understand what you have did. Okay, now, as a recruiter, I will understand only numbers. How much time you have
Yes.
saved, how much cost you have saved. If you put forth with the numbers, then I'll understand, okay, this person is better because he has given some proof. Okay. So in these dimensions, you can contemplate. Maybe we can have a one-on-one after this call or something where we can have a detailed discussion. Anybody
Yeah.
wants to add some points? Inven or
स-
Abhishek or Sunil?
सुनील
Yes, I
कुठून
think
वार्ता करतो तुम्ही?
मी आता पुण्यात म्हणजे मुंबईला आहे.
मुंबईमध्ये.
हा.
डिग्री काय केलंय तुम्ही?
माझं BE मेकॅनिक.
बी मेकॅनिकल. पण तुमचं लक्ष कुठे आहे? तुम्हाला लाईफमध्ये काय करायचंय?
मला कोच बनायचंय आणि मी लर्निंग अँड डेव्हलपमेंट मध्ये 10 वर्ष काम केलं.
तर आता काय झालंय? जॉब कशाला बदल काय काय प्रॉब्लेम झाला त्याच्यामध्ये?
ले ऑफ झालेला आहे जॉबचं.
ओके. पण तुम्हाला काय करायचंय? त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही काय व्हॉट चेंज डू यू वांट टू ब्रिंग इंटू युअर जॉब?
चेंज सच का म्हणजे मला माझी जी पोझिशन आहे तिथनं मला हायर पोझिशनला मी लुकआउट करतोय आणि मी आउट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र होतो तर मला महाराष्ट्रामध्ये यायचंय. दॅट इज माय गोल.
Okay, so there are see two things is you want to go to the next level and you also come
Yeah.
back to your roots, right?
Yeah, correct.
So now look at with your current role, what all organizations are there in your area of interest. See, how I search a job is where is my home? 10-kilometer radius. What is the nearest option I'll have? That's how look I look at it because there is nothing called as work-life balance. It's about work-life integration because there's
Yes,
a very thin line. Okay, and
correct.
next is I had pivoted from Mumbai to Chennai. My native is Nagarkoil, so my mother tongue is Tamil, but I can interact in Marathi because I did my schooling over there. So that's about language. But see, I when I completed my engineering and came back to Mumbai after my degree, I faced the same challenge because there was a like there were a lot of interviews. I would have given more than 2,000 interviews during a 1 year period till I got my first break. So I take it as a learning to understand what went wrong. Like GS has
Correct.
already told you, for all the interviews you did you put the same resume or did you
No, no, no.
tweak it?
Every time I'm customizing.
So every
I'm
time
making it ATS
customization.
friendly.
See, now another thing is a lot of jobs are not taken from Naukri or something. It is all through referrals. So what
Correct.
kind of a network you have
I'm
who can
lagging in
refer
the
you?
network. Yeah, yeah. I agree. I don't have any network. And now I'm
That's
pushing myself to create one.
so start like GS and our team panel members have told,
Yeah,
connect with people in the industry which you want to grow, and so that you become like them.
correct.
So you need to have positive manifestation saying where you want to go and network with them, meet up with them, so that you have a reference point for them. And another thing I'll say to you is it's just the beginning. So you can also look at taking small gigs across and then
Yeah,
develop what skills you think you are lagging at this juncture so that you can transform to the next level.
Okay.
So don't worry, everybody has shifted from that phase to this phase. So it's just a point of time or where we are just a little bit behind. That's all. So we are not behind. We are taking that leap of faith to go to the next level. See, the flight has to wait and it has to take a back step to go to the next level, right? The
Correct.
same thing.
Correct.
So
Yes.
have patience, and sky is not the limit for anyone.
I
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was not expecting you to speak Marathi. Yes, Abhishek ji.
I have I'll let Sunil go first. I have a very different take on
Yeah,
this.
so possibly why
Yeah.
my single answer is I think the skill from 2025 and beyond is possibly patience, right? So I think that is a skill to really, really look forward to. And I think also just answering your question is just because I'm not passed so many interviews does not mean that I am not skilled enough. And whatever I've done until now, don't question that. I think you have
Yeah.
to stay with that, give it that value. And possibly
Exactly.
employability and getting a job and all those things is basically like getting a seat in a metro, right? You do all the right things, you still don't get it. So it's a game of luck and chance. That's as simple as this. And possibly just before I give it to Abhi, um, Harish question was saying, should I do it? Should I not do it? My manager used to say me one thing: "कुछ भी कर लेना, make it yours." Once you make it yours, doesn't matter. It's like arranged marriage. You found you wanted somebody else. She got married somewhere else, or he got married somewhere else. You found somebody. She said yes. He said yes. Make sure that you run the show. The marriage has to run. Right? So that's where I'll pass. I'll leave it to Abhi.
You have very good metaphors and anchors. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Sunil, I'm being very practical on reality.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you,
please.
uh,
I want to
I
hear
would
that.
say, yeah. So I would say in today's world, agility matters, flexibility matters. So I come from a world where the more flexible you are, it it helps your growth, it helps your career progression. So location, in my opinion, should not be a restriction as long as unless you're living absolutely at your hometown. It does not matter whether you are in city A or B or C. So be open to pick up a job that pays your bills. It's important. Let's be realistic on very real terms. You know, there's a job that pays your bills. So get something, keep your constraints as low as possible to be making your things work. Now, to the point you said, if I heard you correctly, you said you're getting through the third stages and you're getting rejected at the third stage. And being in what you said, you are in L&D as a function, and which is kind of my, in a way, I lead a team of HR. So I have L&D, I have talent acquisition, I have all the functions under me. So as an L&D professional, for you to make the mark, I would, if I were at your place, and maybe you can do it differently slightly, but in your mind, while you do not get played down by the cards that you're dealt with, which means not being underconfident that, oh, something happened bad, therefore I should be thinking, but look at critically yourself, that what you'd get that vibe from the interviewer, at what point did they lose track on you. And it's important to note that, because it may be articulation, it may be a com skills, it may be something else. It's important to understand that. Fortunately, today there are a lot of tools available. You have AI coaches, you have systems to record yourself, practice, communication, network, all of these. There are fortunately a lot of support available. Use them to your advantage to quickly sharpen the skill sets that you may think you will act, and try and get better at every interview. It should be that your interview next is better than the interviews that you have given. That's all that matters. If it constantly improves, you will get there, which is which is which is what everyone said, that you will get there in some point. But don't constrain yourself with choices at this point. If you get something and you think that fits 70-80% of what you are looking for, get into it, keep looking if you still need to, if you have not got the right fit one, so that you can make it. But maybe in my opinion, just one general approach when you explain things, use the star framework, which will help you get your work better, is explain the situation, as in when you have done in your past examples, when you talk about it, use a star framework, which might help. Talk about the situation, talk about the task that you had in hand, talk about the action that you took and the results that it gave. That simple framework helps putting across your points very succinctly, very precisely and concisely, which helps get past the interviewer and making a clear point of your outcomes and the results that you have achieved, getting an impact. So that matters.
Really, really, really thankful. After hearing you only, I did my self evaluation and I came to know where I'm doing something which is not, should not be done, or it's kind of a self retreat to me. And I got you, what you trying to tell me. I was not using at all a star framework. I was not giving the story. I was not telling them the situation, action, the result. In terms of my interview was very generic. I was speaking a very generic language, so I got, thank you. Really, you
Yeah,
all
yeah.
people have
So
added lot of value. Yeah,
one concluding remark is like jobs is not the only advertised jobs. Advertised jobs is only 20 to 30%, where people try to create a myth that you need an ATS CV. Okay, but being a recruiter, I don't subscribe to that idea, because ATS is something which we use for bulk hiring, volume hiring, and those kind of things. And a lot of resume writing companies scare people and doing business. That's the reality, because 70% we do only headhunting through LinkedIn and
yeah,
Naukri, where we use keywords and pull out CVs and line up for interviews. Okay, now see, think of a situation where I have a timeline to close a position. Okay, see,
yeah,
hiring happens for two reasons. One is it's a new
true.
project or it's a replacement hiring. Only two
Yeah,
reasons for hiring. So now I cannot post a job and wait for a candidate to apply. Okay. Now,
yes,
even if
absolutely.
I post a job, I'll get 1,000 profiles. Now, manually, it is not at all possible to validate every single profile. So that's the reason many people complain that I'm not getting calls from HR. But the reality is, when we have a desperate need, desperate hiring, we quickly go to Naukri and LinkedIn. These are two major portals which we operate and hunt,
Yeah,
with the proper limitations of whatever budget we have, notice period,
correct.
and experience range. All this combination we use and pull out a candidate, validate his interest, and line up for interview. That's how things works during the hiring process, which is 70%. So the complaint which you have raised is because of the chasing of the advertised jobs. That's one area we'll have to shift to the job hunt strategy, where it will give a lot of success. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining and sharing your valuable input, Sunil, Inwin, and Abhishek.